What's up guys, my name is Ace, and something that I've been personally curious about in Warzone is the amount of flinch that sniper rifles have when they're shot. And I really wanted to know if there's much of a difference between each individual sniper rifle, or a difference between Cold War snipers versus Modern Warfare snipers. And I also wanted to revisit the Flinch Resistance stat for Cold War weapons that appears on many of the rear grip attachments, because the last time I tested this, it did absolutely nothing, and I've been having a lot of people ask me if this has been fixed yet. So, hopping right into the test here, what I did is I stood exactly 15 meters from my target, and in every test I got shot by the same gun, which was a Stoner 63, in the leg. I also confirmed that it doesn't matter if I had armor or not, you flinch the exact same amount, just in case you guys are wondering if you see some of these screenshots. And let's kick it off with the Cold War sniper rifles and look at the Tundra. The way my graphic works here is the green dot is my initial point of aim. In fact, I took the screenshot from the frame before taking damage. And then the red dot up at the top of the screen there, that is where my point of aim flinched to. So with the Tundra, there's a lot of flinch here. I flinched a full torso plus a head above my initial point of aim. So this will absolutely throw you off target, especially at longer ranges, which you'll typically be in if you're sniping. As for the Pellington, while it might look a little bit different because the zoom level is different and the optic is different, it turns out you flinch the exact same amount as with the Tundra, and that same trend holds true for the ZRG 20mm. These three sniper rifles all have the exact same amount of flinch. But then moving on to the M82, this has noticeably less flinch than the previous ones that I talked about. Although you are still flinching a decent amount, this is definitely still going to throw you off target. It's not quite as bad as the others. And then finally for Cold War sniper rifles, we have the Swiss K31, and this has almost no flinch at all. There's a very small amount, and it could still throw you off target if you're trying to hit a headshot at long ranges, but this is next to nothing when compared to the other Cold War sniper rifles, and that's one of the big upsides to using the Swiss K31, especially as an aggressive sniper rifle, where you're likely going to be taking damage in that fight, and not just trying to pick somebody off from a concealed location really far away. So that's the flinch with Cold War sniper rifles, but like I said, I also wanted to test the rear grip attachments that state that they help with flinch resistance. And with the airborne elastic wrap, I tested this on multiple snipers, but I'll just show you my Tundra example. It didn't change the actual point of aim of my flinch at all. Now, if you really look at it closely, you might notice that there is a little bit less visual flinch, a little bit less screen shake overall, but your point of aim goes to the exact same point. So for all intents and purposes, this doesn't reduce actual flinch on Cold War sniper rifles. But of course, I wanted to take this a step further. I did test this on a regular gun as well, even though that's not the primary purpose of this video. And it turns out I got the same sort of result. Once again, the point of aim flinches to the same point, which by the way, there's barely any flinch at all for regular guns. However, you can definitely notice there is less visual flinch or less screen shake when shot if you are using the airborne elastic wrap. So just know, if you are using a rear grip attachment that says it helps with flinch resistance on Cold War weapons, this only helps with visual flinch and it doesn't affect your actual point of aim. And I really hope they fix this in the future, especially when we have a look at the Modern Warfare sniper rifles and their access to the focus weapon perk, which does actually reduce flinch. So diving into the Modern Warfare sniper rifles and their flinch, let's start it off with the AX50, and as you can see here, that red dot is right up toward the top of the screen. However, another thing to keep in mind is this is zooming in much more than any of the snipers we've looked at so far. And when you compensate for that zoom level, it turns out with the AX50, we actually have a little bit less flinch than we get with the Tundra, the ZRG, or the Pellington. Also, just wanted to point out right up front here, with the Modern Warfare sniper rifles, the focus weapon perk appears to give you about a 60% reduction to your flinch. So this is a very, very noticeable reduction. There's still going to be flinch. It's not like it eliminates it completely, but this cuts down on it massively. And this does apply to all of the Modern Warfare snipers and marksman rifles based on my tests. So I'm not going to repeat this for every single one. But moving on to the HDR, the scope doesn't zoom in nearly as much as the AX50, so it might look a little bit different than the AX50, but you have the same amount of flinch as the AX50. And this also holds true for the Rytec AMR. Again, we're zoomed in really far, and therefore the dot is almost not even on the screen at all. It's only partially on the screen, but it flinches to the same point. And the Dragunov was the same story, which I found to be a little disappointing. I think this is maybe another area they can improve the Dragunov, just to make it so there's some reason to use the Dragunov, because that's a lot of flinch for a gun that can't even get a one-shot kill to the head against a fully plated enemy. So when it comes to the actual Modern Warfare snipers compared to most of the Cold War snipers, the M82 and the Swiss are exceptions here. We actually have less flinch with the Modern Warfare snipers, and that's before even considering the focus weapon perk, which will significantly reduce your flinch, and in the case of Cold War, at least in the game's current state, there's no way of reducing flinch like you can with focus on Modern Warfare guns. But that's not it for the comparison here. Of course, in Modern Warfare, we also have access to bolt-action marksman rifles, which behave just like sniper rifles once you put a sniper scope on them. They have that same one-shot headshot potential against fully plated enemies, and therefore, for all intents and purposes, these are also sniper rifles in Warzone. And with the SPR, as you can see here, there is way less flinch than with the standard sniper rifles. Of course, there is still some flinch, and this could still throw you off target, but it's just much, much better than the regular sniper rifles. And then finally, looking at the Kar98, this is just like the Swiss K31, where there is very little flinch here. There is basically no flinch whatsoever, and this is one of the big reasons that the Kar98 is the king at aggressive sniping. Now, just for fun, I wanted to show you the example of the Kar98 with the focus weapon perk, and I wanted to point out the fact that your point of aim doesn't really move at all if you're using the focus weapon perk. I'm not saying this perk is necessary to use on the Kar98 since it has so little flinch to begin with, but I just thought it was interesting to point out the fact that you can basically eliminate flinch with focus on the Kar98. And with that, that pretty much covers it for flinch against sniper rifles in Warzone. And overall, here's just a quick reference chart for you guys. Keep in mind, this is kind of a rough chart, but it will give you a good indication, at least at a glance, what the various flinch levels are going to be for the various sniper rifles. And what I found is when comparing the Tundra, the ZRG, and the Pellington to the standard Modern Warfare sniper rifles, it appears we get about 10% more flinch with those Cold War snipers. And when you combine that with the fact that we don't have the ability to reduce flinch on the Cold War sniper rifles currently, whereas we do with the focus weapon perk on Modern Warfare sniper rifles, I think there's a pretty clear imbalance when it comes to this specific stat. And this is one of the big reasons that I would love to see the airborne elastic wrap start to work properly so it actually reduces your flinch, just like we see with the focus weapon perk on Modern Warfare snipers. Now, of course, the flinch stat isn't the most important for sniper rifles if you're somebody that really likes to hang back and treat it like traditional sniping, where you're trying to pick somebody off that doesn't even know you're there, or you're so far away from them that unless they're using a sniper rifle, they can't reasonably engage you anyway, and you'll be just fine picking them off. When it comes to aggressive sniping, on the other hand, like I mentioned earlier, the top choices are going to be the Kar98, the Swiss K31, and the SPR is not bad as well, especially if you use the focus weapon perk on that. With these, you don't have a whole lot of flinch, and therefore you're able to stay on target a lot better, even while taking fire. And with that, I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about the current balancing for sniper flinch in Warzone? First up, what do you guys think about the discrepancy between Cold War snipers and Modern Warfare snipers? And second, what do you think about the fact that Modern Warfare sniper rifles have access to the focus weapon perk, whereas when it comes to Cold War weapons, you have no ability that I'm aware of at least to reduce your flinch at all? Do you think those rear grip attachments should actually reduce flinch like they state they do? Or would you prefer if they just eliminated that from the equation completely? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.